If you do not know the future of your marriage, it's so much easier to walk away from it because you're living in well, it didn't work out today. I guess it's not going to work out in the future. And then you walk away. And that is so devastating. There are so many men, so many marriages, because it's not even just on the husband side. There's also the wives, right? They just don't know what they're trying to accomplish in their marriage or where they're going as a couple. You are listening to the Husband Coach's Corner, the podcast designed to teach husbands how to love their wife each and every day and become better men in the process. I'm your host, Chris Scott, and welcome back to another episode. Today's talk has 3 points to it. 1, do you have a vision? 2, have you shared your vision with your wife? And 3, what are you doing today to make that vision a reality? See, everyone who is trying to accomplish something has a vision. Having a vision is absolutely 100% necessary because without it, you're just flying a plane without a destination. When I talk about vision today, I'm asking, do you know where you're trying to go in your marriage? This is important because if you don't know where you're trying to go in your marriage, then how do you know if you're where you want to be? Now, that brings us to our first talking point, which is, do you have a vision? Do you have one in the first place? If I were to ask this in another way, I would say, do you know where you're trying to go in your marriage? If the answer to that is yes, then that's good. That means you might be ready to move on to the second piece of this conversation. But before you do, evaluate your vision against a few things. 1, is your vision specific? 2, is your vision attainable? 3, is your vision relevant to your relationship? And number 4, when do you expect to achieve this vision? These assessment questions are centered around making a SMART goal. Some of you may have heard of these things in business, but I would like to say that they're very useful in developing a vision for your marriage and even other aspects of your life. But for the purposes of today's episode, we're focusing on developing SMART goals for our marriage. Now, maybe you don't know what a SMART goal is, all right? Moral of the story, if you are trying to accomplish something, you want to make sure that it is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. And that is essentially the structure of making a SMART goal. Now, when you make a SMART goal, it really turns into what today we're going to call the vision statement. But in essence, this would still work if you call it a SMART goal. All right. So an example of our vision statement for our marriage would be something like this. In the next year, my wife and I will have open and honest communication that builds our relationship in a positive way, leading to deeper intimacy. Another example is I will have a job that does not require me to spend more than 5 days per month away from my wife and family before the end of the year. And then another example, I will exchange negative thoughts about my wife for positive ones as soon as I think them. See, all 3 of these examples, they are specific with what you're trying to accomplish. They're measurable because you can look at it and say, okay, am I doing this? Am I not doing this? How often am I doing this? They're attainable because they're not impossible to achieve. And they're relevant because it's specific to your marriage. And then the key point here is the timing. You don't want a goal that goes on and on and on and on forever, because then you don't believe that attainability piece. So the furthest out that I went with this goal And what I'd recommend anyone when they're developing their SMART goal or their vision statement, that they don't go beyond 1 year. Really, you want to keep it somewhere within a 90-day period. I found that the sweet spot is about 60 days to 45 days. You can even do a month, but typically you want to be within 90 days when you're creating your vision statement, because this shows that you are constantly building on your marriage. And these don't have to be extremely over the top goals for your relationship. These can be very simple. Like the third one that I brought up here, this is something that happens on a daily basis, right? I will exchange negative thoughts about my wife for positive ones as soon as I think them. That's the timeliness is every day. The attainability is super easy, right? Because, or at least it's easy to identify. But notice that none of these goals are necessarily easy to achieve. All right. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But the other thing that I want you to notice about all of these is they are future tense statements, meaning they will become true at some point. All right. It hasn't happened yet, but at some point, one day down the line, this is going to happen. Now, I could spend more time unpacking this even further, which I do this for all of the clients that I coach. So if you would like to do that, then sign up for a coaching with me, and I'll develop a SMART goal specific with you, or a specific SMART goal for your marriage. And then we'll come up with a plan that you can start to implement and take action in building your relationship overall. And you can do all of that 100% for free. But now that you have an idea of SMART goals and your vision statement, we can move to the second part, which is all about accountability. So, have you shared your vision with your wife? I just let that sink in. Have you shared your vision with your wife? Now, this step is critical. All right. One of the things we as people hate the most is accountability. As husbands, most of us hate being accountable to our wife, but she's the single person we need to be the most comfortable with being accountable to. All right. Let me say that in another way. Our wife is the person that we are spending our life with. And when we are developing how we respond to her in our marriage, the person we should be the most intimate and involved with in our marriage is our wife, which means we have to be accountable to her because she may not agree with some of these things, and really could be not agreeing with our vision statement, our SMART goal that's specific to helping us build our relationship with her. All right. That's important. That's critical. Now, truthfully, this should go without needing to be said, but I just had to say that because maybe you see your wife as a person who has no say in the relationship. And one, I just want to say that that's a faulty mindset. And that is nothing that I promote here in this show or in any of my coaching sessions. All right. Your wife is really the reason that you are growing to become a better husband and learning to love her, to build your relationship. So she absolutely has a say in it. All right. Now, you should feel comfortable with being accountable to her on the things that grow your marriage. All right. I get it. You may not feel comfortable being accountable to some of the other things, and that's for a whole nother conversation. But the things that grow your marriage specifically, you should be very comfortable with being accountable to her. All right. Now, this is something that I encourage all of the men that I coach, even in the free consulting. I always encourage people to share their vision statement with their wife. All right. The reason for that, one, she will help you refine your vision statement. Two, she will give you feedback on how well you are doing. There goes that accountable piece again. And then three, it makes it easier for you to talk about your marriage with your wife. See, that last one, making it easier for you to talk about your marriage with your wife. What I found is many men, they just don't know where to start with talking about their marriage with their wife. They think it's like, oh, we just got to be able to talk better or whatever the case may be, right? Well, the reality is if you don't have that vision, and this is why I started off, do you have a vision? Because if you have the vision, you can then go sit down with your wife. You can share the vision with your wife. So that way she doesn't feel like you don't know what you're trying to articulate. And you can share that statement with her. And then guess what? That starts that dialogue between the two of you. Now, I live in the real world, and I do understand not all wives know how to have these conversations, accept that conversation, that information. All right. I really do. And you may go share all of this with your wife, and then she will reject you. She'll laugh in your face, and that can make you feel some type of way. All right. So when I say share your vision with your wife, there is a caveat or a disclaimer that you have to be open to the fact that your wife may not be ready to receive this, depending on where you are in your relationship. I still think that you should share it with your wife, but just manage the expectation of how well she's going to receive your vision statement. All right. The reason why in all scenarios you should share your vision statement is because it starts to bring you to a common ground. Even if she disagrees, at least she knows the vision that you have for the future of your marriage. Now, the reason why a vision statement is so important, if I haven't articulated this before, is because it talks about the future of your marriage. If you do not know the future of your marriage, it's so much easier to walk away from it because you're living in the, well, it didn't work out today. I guess it's not going to work out in the future. And then you walk away. And that is so devastating. There are so many men, so many marriages, because it's not even just on the husband side. There's also the wives, right? They just don't know what they're trying to accomplish in their marriage or where they're going as a couple. And they think, oh, well, if I just mimic whatever someone else's relationship is doing, then I'll be successful. And this is what I want in my marriage. And they don't realize that what they're seeing in someone else's marriage is really based off of the personalities of those two people. Sometimes, especially if you're looking at it on social media, it's fake. They just put on the front, but they're really miserable. So the point that I want to make here is your vision statement gets you future focused on your marriage and what it is that you and your wife are trying to accomplish. But it starts with you. Now, this isn't to say that your wife can't bring a vision statement, right? In fact, if she does, that's good because, again, this makes it easier for you to start talking about the future of your marriage. However, many wives, they won't bring a vision statement. They'll bring an idea. I want to cuddle with you more. I want to spend more time with you. And all of those things are perfectly fine. But as the husband, the leader in the marriage, not the dictator, the leader, right? We build the relationship by setting up the structure, the confine for a successful marriage. That's what our role is as husbands. When we are that leader in the marriage, we can take the vision that our wife has and turn it into an actionable plan. And that's the goal behind having these vision statements. Now, to recap, so far, you've developed your vision statement, or at least refined your vision statement. You've got a statement. You got a vision. You know where you're trying to go. And you've shared it with your wife. Now comes the hardest part. Every husband that I coach gives me a hard time with this part of the plan. All right. And that is, what are you doing today to make that vision a reality? See, the bottom line is visions, they're great, and sharing it is also great. But without follow through, you'll never see it happen. One of the things when I coach men, I share a photo of this guy who's climbing a wall. And the way that the photo is taken, it's really from the top of above the climber looking down, and the focus is on the climber, right? The photographer who took the photo, they focused on the climber. And just below him is another guy holding onto a rope that is holding this guy, like a safety line holding this guy onto the wall. The man climbing the wall is you. The man holding the rope is me. Now, if you're not one of my clients, this is what I share with them, right? That the man holding the rope is me. They're the one climbing the wall. Now, if you're not one of my clients, then the man holding the rope is whoever your trusted person is that you are, your mentor, right? Now, this picture becomes really, really stark if you look at it and you can't visualize who's holding that rope at the bottom. All right. And that could be a sign that you need a mentor. All right. And that's the whole purpose of me sharing this image is really to articulate that the person who's doing the work in this relationship, building that vision, right? Let's just assume the vision is at the top of the mountain that this guy is climbing. The person doing the work to get to the vision is you, not me. What I'm doing is I'm coaching you through the process. I'm looking up at the mountain. I see it from a different perspective, because when you're in the middle of doing something, you see the fine details, right? I can't tell you how many grains of sand are on the rock in front of you, because I'm so far away, I can't see that, but you can. What I see is the big picture. I see where you are currently and maybe even how much further you have to go. That's my role, and that's your mentor's role, is to sit back and see the big picture and keep their eye on the end state for you. Because you may not know that there's 7 more rocks that you have to get over before you get to the end state or the vision, because your vision is impaired. Even when you look up to see the vision, maybe you can't see the other 2 rocks because they're more inward, right? I'm getting off on my illustration here, but hopefully that makes sense, all right? Moral of the story: what you do on that rock as you are moving up the mountain to accomplish your vision, to get to that vision, that happens every single day. You don't get to take days off. Because when you take days off, guess what? That vision, it seems that much further because it's easy to take days off. It's easy to say, you know what? Not today. Now, I'm not telling you that it won't be easy or that it will be easy every day or that you will always take time to love your wife every day, right? However, the goal here and the charge to every man is to find a way, right? There's a reason that the tagline of this show is find a way to love your wife every day, because sometimes it's not always obvious. Sometimes it's not always easy. Sometimes you just flat out don't want to do it. And that is the reality of life, which is why you have to find a way. Either, find a creative way that resonates with loving your wife every day, or maybe you have to find the energy to love your wife because you guys had this battle, this dispute, whatever it may be. Or maybe your wife doesn't want to talk to you and you are given the stone wall treatment, as I talked about in my previous episode. She's built up this defense around you. Look, you have to find a way, because that's the only way that your vision is going to become a reality. One of the things that I've learned over the years is that men who fail to reach their vision never have a clear path to achieve it. They dreamed it up and made up some attempts to down some bad paths, and then eventually they give up along the way. So I have to ask, are you clear on the path you need to take to make your vision a reality? If not, then that is your first step to finding out. Now, if you just don't know what your first steps are or what they should be, then I have to recommend that you sign up for a free consult with me. I help you develop your SMART goal, a draft vision statement, and I get you a path to start walking down immediately. You get all of that for free. If you choose to sign up for a monthly coaching, then you can. But if not, at least you have a starting point, right? You're not wandering. Like, I want to help men get out of this rut of wandering. And if you're listening to this podcast, this show, then you're likely looking for ways to get out of this rut. And I offer all of this free of charge. I don't even try to sell you on the coaching, right? I let you know what the price is to coaching. And if you choose to sign up, then that's 100% on you. I don't pressure anyone to do it. My goal is to understand what you need help with and do my best to help you find a way to move forward. All right. Now, if you want to sign up for a free coaching consult, go down to the description box. There's a link. You can get on my calendar. And all I ask is that you show up. If you schedule the meeting, all I ask is that you show up. All right. This is 100% free. You don't have to put in a credit card. You don't have to do anything except for give me a name and an email address so I can send you the meeting link. Once you get on my calendar, I have to manually send the link to you. But I need an email address to do that. So, and then I also ask that you give me an idea of what it is that you want to talk about. But if you don't, then that's fine. We'll figure it out when we meet. My heart is truly just to help men start to form their vision for their marriage and stop wandering or stop looking at other people's marriages, trying to form theirs based off of what someone else is doing, because that's unhealthy and it's unrealistic. So if that resonates with you, then please just sign up for a free consult. I'm here to help you and, answer questions that you may have in regards to just marriage in general. All right. And worst case scenario, If you sign up for this free consult, we sit down, we chat, you can just vent, and I'm just going to listen. And I may offer you a few ideas, but maybe that's all you need, and that's okay. I'm 100% cool with that. If that's what you need, then sign up and let's chat. All right. With that, I'm just going to land the plane here, because I think we've covered a lot, but the goal is you have to identify what your vision is, share it with your wife, and then work on it every day until you achieve it. Now, what I didn't tell you is once you achieve your vision, if you're like, yeah, I made it, guess what? You got to get another one and another one. And you just keep developing new visions, because as you grow in your marriage, this is the reason why the tagline is find a way to love your wife every day and become a better man in the process. See, it's a process that really never ends. My wife hates when I say this, but I stand by this because this is just my analogy. Marriage is the marathon that never ends. All right. That's what marriage is. Now, I'm a runner. I like to run long distances. That's why I use that analogy. But it's the marathon that never ends. And there's nothing wrong with that. All right. That sounds like a bad thing. But instead, what you do is you come up with new goals, and it's like, okay, I've accomplished that goal. We've accomplished that goal. Now it's time to move to this next goal. And this is how you start to grow and develop, and you become that better man in the process. But see, if you don't have a plan to get through that process, then marriage starts to consume you, and it starts to isolate you. And you could feel like marriage is worthless and there's no point in it. And that's what I'm trying to combat and overcome. So if you feel that way, just reach out, and I'm genuinely here to try and help you overcome that. So until next time, I want you guys to find a way to love your wife every day. Peace.